After my husband's infidelity and me choosing to stay, how long before I didn't hate him anymore and I practiced intimacy with him? I had someone write me this question through my personal inbox, and so I'm going to try to answer it the best I can without giving too many personal details. First off, I just want to say that everybody's going to have a different situation. Everybody's going to have different variables and things that they are comfortable with. And so do not take my story as well, I'm going to do exactly what she did. You have to decide for yourself what you are comfortable with. And I never, ever, ever encourage a woman to be intimate if she's not ready. That can lead to hysterical bonding. If you've not seen my videos on that, please scroll down till you find that. It's a very great video. I think it's had like 37,000 views. A lot of women relate to it. Essentially, hysterical bonding is when you are intimate with someone and you're doing it for a lot of different toxic reasons. And then afterwards, there's a lot of resentment and pain associated with that. So I never recommend that. So short answer is a year. It took me a year to say I love you. And I did say I love you in the beginning, but I realized after a few months that I was just doing it because I was supposed to. I mean, I loved him as the husband of my children, and I loved him for some of those reasons. Like, I think you always care about the person that you've built a life with, but I didn't love him. I wasn't opening my heart to him. I definitely had barriers and shields up. And so I think after a while, I just said I couldn't say it for a while. That first year, I didn't love him. I had to work a lot on myself, and I cried every night and processing all the betrayal. How could I love a person that essentially had stabbed me in the back? Very difficult. So I gave myself a year. I gave him a year. I told him I would give him a year to make progress, and if I didn't see progress, I was out of the relationship. And I quite frankly thought he would fail. And maybe if I'm truthful and authentic, I hoped he would fail. I didn't truly want to be in the relationship after everything was discovered. I was ready for a divorce, and the only reason I stayed was because I felt like God asked me to give him a second chance. So I related a lot to the story of Jonah. I sort of wanted my husband to fail. Jonah, if you've never heard the story, was swallowed by the whale because he didn't want to go to Nineveh and obey God. Eventually, Jonah repented, was spit out on dry land, went to Nineveh, told the city to repent. The whole city did repent. Then Jonah goes outside the city and he sits there to gleefully, hopefully watch God destroy the city, and is grieved that God shows mercy. And so I kind of expected in that first year my husband would fail and I'd be scot-free and like, yep, gave him a second chance and everything's good now. And then I was shocked after a year to see that my husband was making so much progress and healing and becoming the man I needed him to be, and had always hoped I would have the man I'd always wanted. So when that happened, I got scared. I got really scared because I was falling back in love with him and I could feel it. And my fear was like, if he cheats on me again, if he relapses, it will really destroy me. It will really hurt me. And we worked on that in therapy, and 3 years later, he's still sober. And today I love him more than I ever have. And I see so many changes in his character and his behavior and the way that he loves and the way that he's laid down his life for his family. In every single aspect, literally every single aspect, I've seen that. And the person who's learning new talents and skills to serve his family, my husband has become a completely different person. He's not masking behaviors. You can't mask behaviors when you're going through certain things. As far as intimacy, that one's difficult, and I really don't want to give too many details because that part of my life feels sacred. I will just say that there's a difference between having sex and there's a difference between having intimacy. And so you can have sex and it not be a connection, it not be where your heart is connected, where your soul is not tied and connected. And I want to say in like year 2 that actually happened to me. And I had never felt anything like that before. I had a history of sex abuse, and so I would dissociate during sex. And there was a day where that did not happen, and I broke down sobbing afterwards. I was embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. But I definitely could tell a difference in that interaction than in past interactions. And there's such a difference in in intimacy and sex, and a lot of people don't find that. If even if there isn't infidelity in a relationship, a lot of people don't have that. They think they do, but they don't. I was told that by our first marriage counselor, and I thought he was crazy. And then as the marriage began to repair, and as that trust began to rebuild, and that intimacy began to rebuild, and my husband became the person I needed him to be because he did the work, he has told me, I was looking for this in corn, and now that I found it here, I will never want it. It just, there's no desire, there's no like, he sometimes gets an urge because it's an addiction, but there's no desire to actually follow through with that urge because of what he's found with intimacy. So I hope that answers your question. It took time. I just would assure you all, it takes time. And unfortunately, it did take about 3 years for me to heal. So be patient on yourselves, give grace to yourselves, listen to yourselves, listen to your gut, listen to what it is that you need, identify, write it down. But that's my personal story, and I hope that helps some of you.